Hello everyone and welcome to SwitchUp. We've got another review for you today, this time of World's End Club, and this one was written for us by a good friend of the channel, Dave Morrish. Dave has his own channel, SavedX Gaming. I will put a link to it in the top pinned comment. Please do check it out and give some of his content a watch, that would be great. World's End Club is a cross between a puzzle platformer and a visual novel where you take control of a gang called the Go-Getters Club. It's a story full of drama, intrigue and mystery as they go on a journey across Japan. But is playing this game an enjoyable experience, or does it really feel like the end of the world? Well, thank you to the publishing team for the review code, and now, let's find out. World's End Club follows the narrative of a group of kids as they get captured and wake up in an underwater theme park. Given that the story is a huge part of the game, I'm only going to be showing footage from the first hour and a half to avoid spoilers. The opening area itself showcases the visual novel side of things and only a touch of the puzzle platforming that becomes more prevalent later. You are taking part in a game of fate where you are each assigned a task and the first person to complete their task wins and gets given a magic key to escape, and all of those that fail their task get eaten by a giant robot. The twist here is that everyone is only told someone else's task. This sets the stage for the decision making elements as you get to quickly decide whether to trust someone or to go it alone. This scenario I felt was very strong. I was highly invested and would happily see this as the plot to a movie, but as I mentioned, this is only the opening of the game, and when this section is completed, the game then turns into a road trip where you switch between puzzle platforming sections, camping areas where you get to interact with the group, and cutscenes where you get to make story influencing decisions. When it comes to the puzzle platforming, things are quite basic. Some characters will discover magic abilities, one character was able to throw things with a lot of power, and another turn into a giant stone. The levels are based around the use of these powers, and for the most part it came down to trial and error in working out how to progress through each stage. I did feel like the game lent more towards the visual novel side of things, and it seemed like I spent a lot more time reading text and watching cutscenes than playing through the levels, but when you are in a platforming stage it controls very simply. B is to jump, A is to use your character's magic power, and Y is to interact with things. You move on a 2D plane and find ways to interact with the environment to create a path forward. If you die, then you don't go back very far, and I was usually able to work out straight away what the correct method was, following on from my failed attempt. Sometimes I did find the jumping to be a tad unresponsive, and when it comes to the throwing mechanic, the aiming was a bit strange as you just push up and down to arch your throw and left and right to change direction. Sometimes though it seemed to change direction randomly. The gameplay just felt too slow in general, even as things got more interesting later on in terms of level design and some of the powers that you get, such as the ability to flip gravity. There is some puzzle solving involved, such as instances of having to work out passcodes to open doors, but there isn't anything too taxing, to be perfectly honest. So given that the big focus on the game is story, luckily I did enjoy this element. The people in your gang are likeable and have their own characteristics that make them shine through. The story itself has plenty of mysteries and twists, plus moments where you are able to make decisions to create a branching path, and there were several moments that left my wife and I open-mouthed. As I said earlier, if I had found this as an anime show on Netflix, I would definitely have found myself getting invested as it went on. Although the gameplay does blend together visual novel and puzzle platforming gameplay, it does one aspect better than the other. If it is the visual novel side you are more interested in, well that's definitely the stronger element, whereas those interested in the platforming side will most probably be disappointed. Gameplay gets 13 out of 20. Controls are simple as I said, which makes it all the more strange that they don't work as well as they should, and they also score 13 out of 20. In terms of the visuals, World's End Club has a 3D anime style. The characters all look distinctive and their different personalities shine through in the writing. The game is fully voice acted in the cutscenes and the voice actors all did a fantastic job. Presentation overall is the highlight of the game for me. The backgrounds have a nice detail to them, although in some areas they do look a bit samey, but I appreciate the effort that has clearly gone into certain aspects, such as the reflection of the lights shimmering in the water. The music has a variety of tracks, each creating the right ambience, from the suspenseful tones when presenting a mysterious new area, to the faster paced anime style action, and the tranquil camping scenes set in the evenings at the beach. Some of the cutscenes were shown with static images, some are fully animated, and some involve the characters' in-game models standing around whilst dialogue boxes play out, but they are still portrayed with animations at these times. There were a few performance issues I came across. During some of the puzzle platforming sections there were times the frame rate did stutter, and this made the game feel less polished during these sections than in the rest of the game. There were several moments that felt like they would only be seen in a bizarre anime, such as cutscenes that switched to a more realistic art style towards the beginning and hours on after a dark moment in the story presenting a happy cutscene of the kids biking while singing a cheery song. Some of these scenes made us a bit confused as the tone seemed to be all over the place, and whilst I did find it to be all part of the fun, in a game that relies heavily on its story, it didn't serve the game as well from a narrative point of view. Overall presentation is good in terms of the visuals, and although there were some performance issues they weren't too intrusive, seeing as they only occurred during some rare moments, and the appealing art style and fun characters kept me invested in the story. Visuals score 16 out of 20. The audio was very good and in keeping with the tone of the game's world, and they definitely got a good cast of voice actors to portray the characters. Audio scores 17 out of 20. World's End Club costs £35.99 and regional equivalents are on your screen now. For this you are getting an adventure that if you played it straight through only lasts about 5 hours, but it can be replayed to see all of the different outcomes, and that is where most people will get their value for money, so you do have to be someone that is content with trying out different story paths through a game. I appreciate the production values that have gone into the visuals and audio, but when it comes down to gameplay it doesn't quite meet the mark. The visual novel side of things works well and does tell an intriguing story, but the puzzle platforming sections by comparison are basic and didn't play very well, becoming quite tedious. I do feel that for what you are getting this is priced a bit too high, and I couldn't recommend it personally at full price unless you are fully into it for the story and visual novel sections, and almost view the platforming sections as added bonuses. Adjust as you see fit based on what I've just said, but for me value gets 11 out of 20. To conclude, World's End Club tells a good story and kept me invested and wanting to know what would happen next. It succeeds in creating its characters and world with appealing visuals, an enjoyable soundtrack and good writing, plus that high quality voice acting. It's a shame that the puzzle platforming falls short, as this does detract from the experience as a whole, and the price point doesn't make this an incredibly inviting game. Fans of puzzle platformers will have to look elsewhere, as this feels like a visual novel first and foremost, and if you are a fan of that genre you will definitely have a better time. Although it could be argued then that you might find the puzzle platforming sections a bit of a pointless distraction. So whilst it does some things well, it does have a few missteps elsewhere, and perhaps it would have been better overall if they just focused on their strengths and kept it to a straight visual novel.
Sorry, Mr. Doggy.
World's End Club gets a SwitchUp score of 70%. Thank you everybody for watching this review, I hope you enjoyed it. Please do remember to leave a like if you did. A big thank you to Dave for writing this one for us. It seems as if it tells a good tale and does its job on the visual novel side of things, with the platforming sections actually lessening the experience, which is a shame. A quick thank you to our Patreons as always for your continued support, and to each and every one of you for watching our videos. Take care, stay safe of course, and until next time, happy